Welcome to the Tiffany Mika podcast. What we do here is build the strength and courage in you to accomplish your big dreams and goals in your sport. No longer will you feel limited. You won't feel you're not good enough. You won't question whether you will make it, and those doubts will disappear because you will have the competitive edge over your opponents and you'll leave them in your wake. And the bonus is, others will notice. So listen up and take notes because I'll show you exactly how to do it. Hey there, this is Tiff from the Tiffany Mika podcast and welcome to this week's Lessons Learned. So yes, as you know, each week we look at lessons learned throughout the week. Some lessons are lessons that have actually worked quite well and we've been able to devise strategies from those and systems and so on to help us continue to move forward. But other times there's lessons also that we learn, isn't there? And with those lessons that we learn are the ones that don't work so well. And then we can look back at those and go, okay, what didn't work? Why didn't work? How can we make it better? And sometimes it takes weeks, sometimes it takes months to make things better. It may not happen overnight. But the most important thing is what we're doing is we're actually learning lessons from what we're actually doing, because that's what it's all about. We've got to learn from what we're doing, okay? So some people like to think of themselves as big picture thinkers. And some people like to think of themselves as more like attention to detail doers. And that's what we're going to be talking about today, is the big picture thinkers versus the more attention to detail doers. But this is what I really believe, is that if you really want to achieve a goal in your sport or your big dream in your sport, and you want to accomplish a lot of things in your life, because you're not only a sports person, you're a human. So you want to achieve a lot of things in your life as well. It's important to really do both. It's important to be a big picture thinker because you need to know where you're going. But it's also important to be an attention to detail doer as well. And I'll share with you why. And firstly, especially if you've heard my story before, I talk about my story about being a tennis player when I was a junior and wanting to become the ultimate tennis player I wanted to become. And when I was pursuing my tennis career, I knew what the big picture was, right? I really knew what I wanted to do. Like I wanted to be that tennis player. I wanted to be number one tennis player in the world. I wanted to be out there touring around the world, playing tournaments everywhere. I wanted to be getting those sponsorship deals, endorsements. I wanted to have a big fan club, the whole works, everything, earning the money, everything that goes along with it. But what was missing from that big picture was the attention to detail that actually had to create that big picture. And the thing is that if you don't have the detail, you don't know what the details are, then how are you going to get to the big picture? It's all great and fantastic to have that ideal picture of what you want to achieve, that big picture, that big goal, that big dream. But how are you going to get there? That's the question, isn't it? How are you going to get there? Because all you see is what you want. But what will happen is that, and this is my belief because, again, it didn't happen for me. But what actually happened was, as you know, if you've heard my story before, I didn't make it. Right? What was missing? The attention to detail. Everything that needed to happen in order for me to get to where I wanted to go. So my belief is that you will not get to that big picture. You will struggle unless you pay attention to the details. And the thing is if you haven't got the map, right, or the treasure map, I like to call it a treasure map. If you don't have that treasure map, how are you going to get there? And that was the problem with me. When I look back at my tennis career, that was what I was missing. I was missing that treasure map. I was missing all the steps and the actions that I needed to make that big picture, my big treasure, to become a reality for me. And that was the same thing in writing my book. And the book, I'll be releasing it very soon, Focus, How to Reach Your Potential in Sport, Business and Life. And if you look at it, the big picture is writing the book, isn't it? It's actually the book itself, holding it in your hands, flipping through the pages and going, wow, yeah, I wrote that. That's pretty cool. But how is that book going to become a reality? Was it going to become a reality by me just thinking about it and wishing that it's going to happen? No, I needed to make a plan. So I had to ask myself a lot of questions. How was I going to make that happen? So it was like, what will I write the book about? What is the main theme of the book? What are the topics of each chapter? What kind of information about those topics will I need to put in those chapters? What will the stories be that I'll share that are relevant to those chapters? What type of questions will I pose to you so that you're not just reading the book, but you're actually learning more about you in it so that you're striving forward? What can I put in there? And when do I want to finish writing the book? And who am I going to get to publish it? Will I do a traditional publisher? Will I self-publish it? How am I going to get it edited? Who does the editing? Do I get a proofreader? How do I get the cover done, and what will the cover look like? Who can I get to have write testimonials for me so that I can put in the book? What should be on the back cover? And when it's ready, how do I promote it? See, there's a lot of questions there. There's a lot of details there that actually needs to be answered. Of course there is. There's a lot of detail, right? This is what we're talking about, the attention to detail. So you can see how it's all great to have the big picture, the big goal, the big dream, and it's great to have your goal in mind. And we know that you're going to be working on your dream, because that's why you're listening here each time, is because I know that that's where you focus, that's where you want to go. But it's going to be the detail that you have that's going to get you the results. Right? We need the details, the attention to detail. And this is why we set goals. This is why we do that, because we need to have a destination of where we're going. Because if we don't know where we're going, one, you just, how are you going to get there anyway if you don't know where you're going? It's like going from Sydney to Perth, or from Sydney to LA, or from Sydney to New York, or from Sydney to Vancouver, or from Sydney to Toronto, wherever, okay? Sydney to London. How are you going to get there? Right? You need a destination. You need to know where you're headed. Because if you don't know where you're headed, it's like you're on a boat out at sea and you're just drifting. There's no map. You've got no motor, and you're just rocking around in the boat. You're just drifting along, just seeing where the waves take you. Do you want to live life like that and just see where it all pans out? Or do you want to have a plan? Even though you've got your goal in mind, but you want to have a plan on actually how to get there. Of course you do. Of course you want to know how you get there. That's why you listen to what I share with you, because I know that that's where you want to go. You want to get there. So these are the things that I want you to be starting to think about. Number one, get your destination clear. Be really clear where you want to go. Okay, because if you're not clear, what's going to happen? You're going to be on that boat, drifting around in the water in the middle of nowhere. Maybe some sharks are going to be circling around, checking you out, but you're drifting along with the waves. No sight of land because you don't know where you're going. So make sure you get your destination clear. Number two, what questions do you need to ask? How you're going to get there? Right, you heard all the questions that I was asking myself. What is it that I need to do to write the book? What is the main theme? What are the topics? What kind of information do I need to put in those topics that will create those chapters? Lots and lots of questions. So ask yourself the questions. Don't just sit there and go, oh, well, how am I going to get there? And just try and think about it. Write it out. The most powerful way to do that is just to write and just let everything flow out. It doesn't have to be perfect. The fact is that you're asking the questions is the most important step, okay? Because then we can then move forward into answering those questions, which is number three, isn't it? We want to answer those questions in detail. We want to write down all the action steps. If you don't know the answers to the questions, get help. Go to a mentor, work with a coach, jump on a podcast, listen to a podcast, jump on YouTube, watch some videos, read some books. Right? Get the information answered that you need to do. Right? We need all those action steps that you need to do to get to where you want to go. Then number 4, we've got to put those action steps in order, don't we? So we've got them all written out, but which action step do we do first? Which action step do we do second? Then we've got to focus on doing those. And number 5 is get started. So it's great to have your destination clear. It's great to write out all those questions of what you need to ask yourself. It's great to answer all of those questions in detail and you get all those action steps. It's great to put those action steps in place. I mean, I love doing all of that. I love planning everything out. But you also have to do the work. That's the hard bit. No one tells you that. People go, oh, just follow your dream, follow your passion, do this, do that. It's hard. It's hard, and it's hard planning it out. It's hard taking the time out, asking those tough questions of what have I got to do. Some of the answers you may not know the answers to of those questions. That's okay. Go and find out, right? It's going to be trial and error. Then you got to get started. Some of those action steps may not be the right things, but because you've got started and you're starting to work on what you need to do, then you can figure it out along the way. Trial and error, it's called. And that's how we get there. We don't come with a handbook, even though I'd like to say that my focus book is a handbook because it will tell you a lot about how to help you reach your potential. Because there's a lot of the lessons that I learnt through sport to help me get through life, to help me get through and achieve things that I wanted to achieve. But we need to get started. And you know what? The detail may really overwhelm you. Because I know the detail does that for me too. And at times the detail will really overwhelm you. And right now for me, I'm in the process of I'm getting my book ready to launch, Focus, How to Reach Your Potential in Sport, Business and Life. I've got a Get Focused program. I'm getting ready to launch that. I'm still just putting all that together. I've got a No Limits Academy I'm getting ready to launch. I want to have all these launched around the same time. And when I look at all of it, I go, oh my God, that's so overwhelming. Especially in the time frame that I want to get it done and when I want to launch it. But you know how you do that and the way that you conquer overwhelm? You just do it one step at a time. So I want you to be thinking of it like in sport. How do we approach sport? How do we win those games, those matches, those tournaments? They're won by one shot at a time, aren't they? And it's the accumulation of those shots that will combine together that gives you the win, isn't it? But we've got to do it one shot at a time, one step at a time. So everything that you do, so we've got the big picture. You may feel overwhelmed, right? And I said to you how we conquer the overwhelm. We get the detail so that we know what we need to do. So we answer those questions that we're going to write out for ourselves. We do those 5 steps. So get your destination clear. What questions do you need to ask? What you're going to and how you're going to get there. 3, you answer those questions in detail. You put those action steps in order so that they're all the action steps, and then you get started, get the detail, and then you just do it one step at a time. Okay, that is how we're going to get there. Okay, but we need that attention to detail. So I hope you enjoyed today's episode of Lessons Learned. I'd really appreciate if you could leave a comment on what you like best about what you heard today. I would very much appreciate that. And I want you to dream big, believe in you, go after your dreams. Have an absolutely awesome day. Take care. Talk soon. Bye-bye. Thanks for listening to today's episode. If you haven't yet downloaded the #1 deadly mistake athletes make sure you go to Tiffany-Mika, Mika.com and download the #1 deadly mistake athletes make, because I don't want you to make that mistake. If you can also share with me what you like best about what you heard, where you hear this episode in the comments section. If you can also share with your friends that you know that would benefit from these episodes, and please leave a 5-star review where you hear these episodes, because I would really appreciate it. Dream big, believe in you, and go after your dreams. Have an awesome day.